Tomorrow marks the 20th anniversary of 9/11. Now, at the time, the fear was that downtown New York City would become a ghost town. Instead, it was slowly rebuilt, and residential complexes are now a prominent feature, really revitalizing the whole area. We want to get perspective on how the transformation happened and what the next stage is. Joining us now, Mary Ann Tighe, CBRE's New York Tri-State Region CEO. She's led the company since 2002 and was really at the forefront of part of this recovery. Mary Ann, just to get some perspective on kind of what's happened over the last 20 years in downtown Manhattan.
So I think there are certain statistics that really are surprising to people. Prior to 9/11, something south of 20,000 people lived downtown. Today, that number is over 65,000, trending towards 70,000, presuming on the buildings that are being built. And downtown went from being a 9 to 5 operation that was primarily driven by the financial service industry to being a 24/7, the cliche, with tons more retail and also a total transformation of the tenant base. Because while obviously financial services are still important, there's been a diversification, something that curiously downtown had been striving for probably for 50 years, maybe longer, before 9/11, but it managed to achieve that. Today it is an extraordinary thing to see how many different kinds of businesses now call downtown home.
Looking at what has happened, Mary Ann, and as you say, it has been a huge transformation. Wall Street almost has become a kind of notion. The financial services sector has become incredibly dispersed, not centered at a single address in Lower Manhattan. Do you think this would have happened anyway as technology has taken over? How big a catalyst was 9/11 for the huge shakeup we've seen in terms of what has happened down there?
You know, that is such an interesting question because you are absolutely right that the trend line was already moving in the direction of financial service firms going toward what I would characterize as not only the Midtown location, but the idea of being in newer office buildings. You have to remember that downtown was where New York started, that downtown's office stock pre-9/11 was really, by the way, New York has the oldest office stock in the world. The average age of an office building in New York is over 75 years of age. So what was happening is that people were gravitating toward newer buildings. If you think, for example, of Morgan Stanley, they went to a building that was brand new from where they had been forever. Even Goldman, who stayed downtown, built themselves a brand new headquarters. I think what happened that sort of turned everything around is the migration going to Midtown was already in the works. But then when the New World Trade Center came online, it was built with the idea of housing the trading floors of all these financial service firms. And lo and behold, technology firms came in and said, gee, we like these great big floors.
Yeah.
We love the openness, et cetera. And it became a tech hub instead of a financial service hub.
So Mary Ann, I'm curious, then what happened 20 years later is COVID. So how does this then evolve?
So I think that, interestingly, one of the things that I think is going to make downtown resilient in COVID, and is actually a challenge, I think, for other parts of the city, is that pre-COVID, of the people who work in downtown office buildings, almost a third of them walk to work every morning. And the bicycle trip, and that's not counting the people who come in from Brooklyn over the bridge on their bicycles. So we were already creating what the Paris mayor likes to call the 15-minute city, where you didn't have to, you could walk and do your grocery shopping, your exercise, whatever, and not necessarily engage mass transit. That is going to be part of what makes the buildings resilient. The second thing I can tell you is the advantage of these newer buildings is that they were built with the air filtration systems. They were built in such a way that to bring, the biophilic light, to bring in the daylight, that you could look out and know what time of day it was, et cetera. And then the other thing that 9/11 did was the greening of downtown. It was a big focus to put in parks, to create that whole Hudson River band, et cetera. All of this leads to a different kind of lifestyle for people who live in and around downtown. And as a result, that will prove to be helpful. Now, are we anywhere near occupancy? Not even close. Not even close. And New York, I have to say, New York has lagged all the major cities. And I think that's because we've been a mass transit city forever, and meaning certainly for the entire 20th century and into the 21st. And I think that people have been reluctant to get on mass transit. And I think it will take longer to repopulate in general.
Yep, I have to say, I share that thoughts. I get on my bike every day. Mary Ann, thank you very much indeed. We greatly appreciate your analysis of what has happened. Mary Ann Tighe, CEO of CBRE's New York Tri-State Region.